What is up, everyone? We have another UFC Fight Night card to break down from a Draftkings DFS perspective. This week's card being headlined by Nasruddin Imavov versus Cannonier. And we have a full 14 fight card, which is on the higher end. And all that means is we're going to really need to look for the upside. It's not going to be enough to just get the guy with line value that's a low volume striker. No, we need to get the wrestlers, the grapplers, the finishers, people who do both of those things. We got to really look for the upside on a week like this. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started from the top. Brad Katona versus Jesse Butler. Brad Katona, 9.6K. He's not a finisher. He has minimal takedown upside. And sure, he has the line value, but like I just said, that's not really going to matter on a week like this. So I think that Brad Katona looks like pretty much a full fade here at a plus 200 ITD. And then Jesse Butler, on the other hand, not winning often enough, awful ITD line as well. This fight seems like a complete pass, and that's pretty much it. I have no interest in playing that fight. Next up, we have Bruno Ferreira versus Dustin Stoltzfus. This fight is much better. We got Bruno Ferreira, who is a powerful striker. Most of his wins come by round 1, round 2 finish. He's a healthy enough money line favorite. He's plus 150 or so round 1. I think Bruno Ferreira looks like a pretty good play here. The only concern being that he is pretty much a pure striker, so if he doesn't get him out of there in round 1, it could be tough getting him there at 9.4K. But nonetheless, his metrics look pretty good, so I'm going to call him a good play here. Dustin Stoltzfus, he has a grappling path to victory. He's 6.8K. He's plus 250 or so to win, which is really not bad for 6.8K. And his ITD line is about 4-1. This is a reasonable punt type of play, I would say. So I'll put Stoltzfus as a fine play, especially when you consider the fact I haven't seen ownerships yet, but I'm assuming Ferreira will get some ownership, and if that's the case, then you can definitely play Stoltzfus for leverage purposes as well. So I like both sides of this fight. Moving on, we have Raul Rosas Jr. versus Ricky Turcios. Ricky Turcios, I don't think will look all that great. I guess he's plus 200. That is not bad for his price of 6.9K. ITD line, not a great ITD line. And then Raul Rosas plus 150 ITD with all the grappling upside in the world. I really do like Rosas as a good play this week. And the Turcios side, I'm really not a fan of. I don't think I'm going to completely fade him, but I'm not going to go out of my way to play him. He's definitely not going to be in my single entry or anything like that. So, yeah, all in all, I guess it's Rosas or pass here for the most part. If you're playing MME and you get to Turcios, then it is what it is, but I wouldn't go out of my way to target Ricky Turcios this week. Carlos Prates, Charles Radtke. So, Radtke has some power in his hands. He also has a little bit of takedown upside. Prates pretty much a pure kickboxer that's low volume, that all of his wins come by finish. And it makes an interesting dynamic. And I talk about this a lot. I really don't like playing these low volume strikers that all of their upside comes in their finishing. It's just a tough play because even if they win in round 2, you could still see just like a 90-point score, and that might not be enough, especially at these high prices of 9K and up. So, long story short, Prates, his ITD line's fine. His round 1 line is good. He's a good play overall, but if I have a choice, here's how I'll put it. If I have a choice between Rosas and Prates, I'm going to choose Rosas every time just because he has the grappling upside. He can get there in multiple paths to victory. And a good example of this was last week when we had Andre Lima and Aylin Perez. They were $100 apart in the salary. Their win odds were very comparable. Lima had a touch bit more of win value. But the issue was, or the concept was, Aylin Perez, in all of her wins, she's scoring 85 plus, maybe even 95 plus in all of her wins because of the way she fights, because of her grappling upside. Whereas Lima, if he finished ITD, he was going to score 90 plus. But if he didn't, I knew he was going to score like 65. He even scored worse than that. He scored like 50. So in the case where you have these really close decisions to make between a grappler and a striker, from now on, I really am going to prioritize the grappler. But enough of that rant. Back to this fight. Carlos Prates, good play. And Charles Radtke, okay ITD line, okay money line for the price. I'll take Radtke as a fine play. What just happened? There we go. Okay. On to the next fight here. We have Rayanne dos Santos versus Tomar. UFC debut, women's MMA fight. Rayanne dos Santos, I think the second highest money line on this card, and she's only 9.1K, so she does have a touch of money line value. Again, not that important on a 14 fight card. And you have a very key style discrepancy here where Tomar really struggles with the grappling, and that's what Rayanne does. She shoots takedowns. And when you have that kind of mismatch, plus a semi-decent ITD line at plus 150, and the line value, I guess, just the cherry on top, it makes Dos Santos a very good play, I think. And then Tomar, awful ITD line, negative line value. It's a really tough play. I guess the only reason you play her is just the high variance nature that this fight could carry, because it is a women's MMA, UFC debut, all the things. It could carry some variance. You never know. But besides that, Tomar looks like a very weak play here. Dustin Jacoby versus Dominic Reyes. I'm going to skip through all the narrative stuff of Dominic Reyes having no chin. He's been knocked out a bunch of times in a row, all that. Everyone already knows that. The bottom line is he's plus 200, and his ITD line is plus 300 at 7.2K. That is a good play in my book, so I'll take that. And Jacoby, plus 150 at 9K. Here's the thing. It's an easy play to play Jacoby if I get caught up in the whole Dominic Reyes has no chin narrative. But the bottom line is Jacoby is a pure volume striker, pure striker that's relatively low volume, and he has a pretty bad ITD line. I'm gonna call Jacoby a very fringy play. I'm not gonna let my bias get into this. I just looking at the metrics and the style matchup, Jacoby looks like a very fringy play here, and Reyes seems like the side here in DFS. Next up, Taylor Lapilus, Cody Stamann. This is the fight that meets the where fantasy points go to die narrative. Taylor Lapilus, low volume, pure striker with almost no finishing upside, and Cody Stamann almost never gets finished. So this unless Lapilus has the world's best ITD line, there's just no way I'm plus 350. Yeah, I'm not doing that. And then Cody Stamann plus 700. The thing about Cody Stamann though is that he has all of the potential takedown upside. If Cody Stamann wins a decision and gets 2 to 3 takedowns and puts up 80 points, 85 points, is that enough at 7.3K? I think, you know what, I'll put Stamann as a very fringy play. If I am going to touch any side of this fight, it's going to be the Stamann. The Stamann side is way better. So, yeah, I'll put Stamann as a fringy play and pass on Lapilus. Moura versus Denise Gomes. Moura, minus 180. All the takedown upside. Denise Gomes just got taken down a whole bunch of times by Angela Hill. I like that for Moura here. I don't really care about her ITD line. Plus 170, it's decent. And you combine that with the takedown upside, yeah. I'll call Moura a good play. And Denise Gomes, you usually don't see this, but plus 250 in a women's MMA fight where there's not a lot of finishes. And she's 7.4K. That's a good play as well. So this is a sneaky fight, I think, where both sides look extremely strong. And you just look at Denise Gomes, like she has the slate breaking score in her range of outcomes, like 130s in 2 fights. I'm not taking a chance trying to get around this. So there's gonna be both sides of this fight, and I'll just call it a day. No real take for me. I mean, I guess I'll pick, if I had to do a pick, I would pick Moura just because I think the takedown discrepancy is larger than the knockout discrepancy that Gomes has. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to play both sides and not really worry about it. Baeza versus Soriano. This is one of those fights where, from a betting perspective, it's a nightmare. You got two guys who are unreliable, two guys who have questionable fight IQ. Baeza has a very questionable chin, and for all of those reasons, it's bad from a betting perspective. But for those same reasons, it's amazing for a DFS perspective. Like, this is exactly what you want. You want a high variance fight with two guys who can get finished, and that's what this is. So both ITD lines look good. I think this is a very good fight to target here. Baeza and Soriano. Then we have the main event, Nasruddin Imavov versus Jared Cannonier. I'll start off with Jared Cannonier. He is like the Paulo Costa play last week, but even better. Paulo Costa was plus 200 to win, and Sean Strickland was plus 140 to win ITD. In this case, you got Jared Cannonier at 7.6K. He's only like plus 110 to win for starters, and then Nasruddin Imavov is like plus 210 to finish him. So you have a very good duality of a great ceiling for Cannonier, as well as a very good floor. So I think Cannonier is like the premier value spot on the slate. You can play him in cash, in GPP, pretty much any contest type. I think he's the best value on the slate. And then from a pure MME perspective, Imavov is just as good, just because when he wins, he's going to score 100 plus. And at 8.6K, that's pretty good. But if I had to choose a side, it's by far the Cannonier here. So I'll put Imavov as a good play, and Cannonier is the best play. Andrea Lee, Montana De La Rosa. Montana De La Rosa. I guess we'll start with the ITDs aren't good on either side, but De La Rosa has the alleged takedown upside. I say alleged because last fight everyone thought that her entire path to win was shooting takedowns, and she didn't shoot a single takedown and got outstruck for 3 rounds. So I don't know what to expect here. I'm not going to have my hopes up for anything. This fight is just a pass on both sides, MME only. That's all I can really say. Ludovic Klein, Thiago Moises. This fight should look good. Moises is a grappler, and his ITD line's okay. Same with Ludovic Klein's. I think both sides look fine here. And you add in the fact that it's in the mid range. It just makes the lineups go together a lot better. So I'll take both sides of that fight. Then we have a very key fight: Julian Marquez versus Reese. This fight is almost a shoe-in on this card. Even with 14 fights, the metrics are just so strong. If I can find it, here we go. Julian Marquez, Reese. Under 1.5 round line juiced. Pretty much a pick'em fight with a slight favorite towards Marquez. Both sides of this fight are elite targets here, and I don't really have any preference on which side. I love both sides, and I'm not going to think about it any further than that. Last but not least, John Castaneda versus Daniel Marcos. Fairly easy DFS breakdown here. I guess Marcos has a touch of line value. They both have poor finishing upside. So all else equal, John Castaneda has all the takedown upside in this matchup. So I think he is the better play. Like, once again, the win value on a 14 fight card, I don't really value that pretty much at all, because Marcos is a low volume pure striker. So I'm going to say Castaneda is a side, and Marcos is probably a pass. Okay. So now that we broke down the entire card, is there anything else I want to go over? Not really. I guess I know people are always looking to like have one big stand. I don't really know. Like, there's a lot of stands you can make on this card. There's a lot of fighters you can X out, like Brad Katona, 9.6K with 0 fantasy output. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that that's very easy to do. I guess if I had to make like one hot take, I would say I like get away from Imavov. I mean, I don't know. That's me just reaching. So I don't know. I'm not going to give any advice on like a one big stand to take. I think you just look at the fights that have upside and let SaberSim or your optimizer or whatever it is do its job. That's what I would do. But yeah, if anyone has any questions this week, please ask in the DFS PhD Discord. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.